live on the set. Welcome to the Bayou, a place where legends are born and many have witnessed them. From Coach Dale to Shaq, Joe and Jaden to Eddie Kennison. You come to Death Valley or P-Mac, expect that voodoo. Top speed like it's 4-2, where nobody's catching Bluetooth. Represent the Chuck and WM no matter what. From Gosport to a legend, that's what's up.
Whoa, welcome to another edition of Go-To Legends. Man, I'm so excited about this episode today. Have one of my longtime friends. We never played together, but I got to see him play. Man, from Leesville, Louisiana. You guys will absolutely be excited about my next guest. But before I tell you his name and introduce him, let me be, if no one has told you today, let me be the first to tell you, my guest, and all of our listeners, if no one has told you today, let me be the first to tell you, I love you with the love of Christ. There's absolutely nothing that you can do about it, and be a light that shines so bright today that it has the impact to save someone's life. Ooh, man, here we go. Brother, you guys have heard this name throughout Louisiana, throughout the United States. You have seen this brother play. You have seen him do his thing on the football field, in the college arena, in the National Football League. My friend from Leesville, Louisiana, and he probably will smile or whatever when I give you like his full name, but Mr. Cecil J.R. Collins.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How you doing, Eddie?
Man, welcome to Go-To Legends, brother. It is such an honor to have you here with me in studio, man, to record and be a part of your life.
Yes, sir.
This is about you. This isn't about me. This is about Cecil Collins, man. And I can't wait to hear more of your story.
Yes, sir.
I watched the documentary that was just put out a couple months ago. And when I tell you, man, it was powerful. Very, very powerful. So, man.
God is powerful.
God is powerful. God is powerful, man. And I see it in you, right? So, Leesville, Louisiana, you had 99 touchdowns in Leesville. You had 7,833 yards overall in your career in high school. And 3,079 of those yards came during your senior season.
That was a pretty big year.
That was a big year for you.
Pretty nice.
That's probably why so many colleges wanted you, right?
Yeah, that'll do it.
You were a 4A state runner-up and selected Louisiana very first Mr. Football.
Oh, man. You know what? That Mr. Football, man, I'm honored, so honored, and to this day still to be the first ever Mr. Football, man, because, just looking back at it saying, okay, we had to make a award for this guy. And at the time, I didn't realize how special it was, but as time went on in life, man, I got so humbled about it, man. It's to be the first of anything, is an honor, man.
That's right. They can't never take that away from you.
Can't take it away,
That's
man.
right. When you're the first.
You're the first, man.
Yeah, bro. That's awesome, man. So let's dive into Cecil Collins. The first time that you really got into sports, how old were you?
Oh, my goodness gracious. I remember one time I asked my dad, and I asked him when I had my son, when CJ was born. I said, Daddy, when did you start seeing my talents, start showing me football? He was like, when you were born. Like, I'm like, okay. So from
you came out as a running back.
I came out as a running back. That was my gift, So, man, from I can remember, and I pretty much can remember from like 5 years old, and all I can remember, man, is my daddy was in the Army, so I was an Army brat. I traveled all over the world as a young kid, Fort Sill, Oklahoma, Germany, Killeen. I traveled all over the world as a young kid. And my dad used to come home from work. When he come home from work, he'd get out his Army clothes, take me and my brother straight outside.
Wow.
We on the ground with one knee. He drawing plays in the dirt, man. Drawing plays in the dirt, formations, running routes, slant routes, cones. And It was phenomenal, man. I was learning from the ground up, you know, and it was just my daddy, me, and my brother. He had his 2 boys. I had my older sister, but it was just us 3, man.
Yeah.
And from there, I was just bred to do it, man. Every day I played football.
So as you pops drawing plays in the dirt,
man.
you get through that young age of playing football, man, and when did you really truly understand and know that, man, this football thing can take me from the backyard where pops is drawing in the dirt to maybe picking a high school, or maybe you didn't have a chance. I don't know how many high schools Leesville have, but
yeah, just one.
Just one, yeah. So obviously you had to go into Leesville, but take me through that time at Leesville High School from your freshman year up through your senior year where you became Mr. Football.
Okay, so first I moved to Louisiana when I was in the 5th grade, and I went to Vernon Elementary.
Mm-hmm.
This was right after my mother and father got separated. So my mother's job got us moved to Louisiana. So that's how I ended up being in Leesville. Mm-hmm. My dad wasn't he was still in the Army, but they weren't together like we got transferred there. It was a separation, and I moved there with my mother, you know, so that's how I came to Leesville. But when I first got there, I got there late, so I couldn't play football for the school. So I was mad. I was like, oh, man, I'm going to miss. I didn't miss no football from 5 years old to then.
Right.
So I was like, what am I going to do? So my mama, I still had my Army ID. So she took us on the Army base, Fort Polk, and found a rec team. And I went on the rec team. And me and my brother wrecked havoc, man. We wrecked havoc over there.
You wrecked havoc,
on
the rec team.
Man. Yes, sir. But we played all the little teams. But granted, my coach restarted Leesville Junior High. They didn't want to play us. We had dudes from all over the world, you know, on our team. Dudes on Army base. We had a lot of great players. We went undefeated, won the little league championship. And I was already meeting these guys that I ended up playing with in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. But everybody was wondering, well, why you not playing over here? But I came late. So like, oh, okay. So that's how that ended up being. And from that point on, man, I was playing running back. I started off playing quarterback. And, I couldn't throw the ball worth nothing. All I did was roll out and run. I might throw a little pop gun throw every now and then.
Right.
But that was where it really started, man, where I knew that I was special.
Right.
You know, and my daddy bred it in me, and I knew I had a God-given talent, man, and I was locked in, man. Tell you, I was locked in, man.
Right.
This is what I wanted to do. I come home, I'm watching football on Saturdays, I'm watching footballs on Sunday, I'm watching football on Monday. Wasn't no Thursday night back then.
Right.
Now, I was locked in.
Right.
Even before my mom and dad had got separated, I used to sit in front of the TV with my pops, man, all the time.
Wow.
You know, I was a student of the game at a young age.
You know, when you and I were coming up watching TV and playing football at a young age, that was our film study.
Yes, sir.
You know, watching the plays, watching the pros or the college athletes, that was our young adolescent film study. And we got a lot from that, and you got a lot from that.
A lot from it.
So you move on into Leesville, and I know that the head coach, and I'll let you mention him, the head coach of Leesville High School at the time is now currently still one of your best friends.
Oh, man.
So transition into you getting into Leesville High School to play football.
This guy, man, Danny Smith, man,
Danny Smith.
He's phenomenal, man. That's my father from another mother, man.
Yeah.
I came there, I didn't have nobody down there. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anybody down there. I was going through a lot with my mom and dad being separated, and I was a daddy's boy. Mm. And without my father being there, man, it was rough, And he was there for me, man. He was there. And when I went and met this guy, at a young age, I seen how much he cared for young men. And, he took me under his wing and guided me and gave me so many morals that I still stick to this day. Yeah. And we're best friends now, He's stay like 9 minutes down the road.
Well, I've seen your relationship when I first ran into you here at LSU, one of the first games you came back to this past year, I saw, and I knew Danny because I played against Leesville and he was the head coach there.
Right.
But I saw that special bond even in that day and how much you guys adore and love one another. And it's a genuine, true relationship. So that time in playing football under Danny, you know, at Leesville. Walk us through some ideas and some things that you guys did that was special.
See, the big thing that was really special to me because, okay, when we didn't have our grades right in school, right? If we got a
grades.
C, a D,
grades,
he gave us paddles, man.
Right.
And I was the example. You know, I was the first guy smoking up there. You know, Cecil, you already know. You're going to be the example because, you know, if these guys know you're accountable, I'm accountable for you, they're going to be accountable.
That's right.
So if I had a C or a D, man, he put me first thing up there.
Right.
And he paddled me in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And, you know, these guys looking like, man, okay, he paddled Cecil. We need to get together.
Right.
And that was a great example that he set for me and for a lot of other younger guys, accountability. You know, be responsible for your actions.
Right.
You know, do the things that your parents taught you to do. Do the things that you learned and do the right things. And that was just huge with me, man. And we built that relationship, man, for 4 years right there in high school, man. And it was, I was around him every day.
Yeah.
I was in the field house all the time, you know, doing stuff around the field house. Used to come, my senior year, man, he used to come pick me up every day, man.
Yeah. Wow.
And we used to have these long talks riding to school, man. And it's just, it's really a blessing that that relationship that we built because now, what is it? Oh my God, almost 20, I would say 25 years later.
Ooh, that's about right.
You know, I mean.
Because I'm 30 or 31 years, and I know I got 4 or 5 years on you.
You got to look up on me.
So you get through your senior year, high school, right? You ball out, Mr. Football, letters from universities, colleges across the United States start coming in. Take us through your recruiting process,
right?
You know, at Leesville High School and how you ultimately made a decision to come to LSU.
Okay, so, you know, back then, you know, everything was pretty much VHS, sending tape, recruiting tapes, you know. So that big year really helped me out a lot, you know. My sophomore year, I started getting letters, you know, from colleges all over. And when my senior year came around, man, it was garbage bags full of letters. And I was pretty amazed, you know, and I was kind of taken back on it, you know, because during the recruiting process, I was like, man, I understood it, but it was just a big scene for me, you know, coming out of Leesville. And I always liked LSU,
right?
You know, but I liked a lot of schools. I grew up really, really liking USC, and I always kind of liked California all the time. And they didn't really recruit down south too much. They didn't even recruit me down there.
Right.
And I was all good, but the process of going through it was phenomenal because I had him there with me, helping me out in the process too, you know. And that I had taken my ACTs before, and I passed it, but then they said that my points jumped too high from the first test I took. Then I had to take it again because I failed the first test. Playing around, not paying attention, just going in there writing anything. Unbelievable.
Were you the all C's? If you don't know it, just
you already know. Put it in the middle. I don't know what I was thinking about back then.
That's right.
But I took it the second time and I passed it like by 5 points. But then they came in and said that the jump was too high. I needed to take it again. So I did study again. This time I failed it. So that's how I became ineligible going into my freshman year at LSU.
Oh, wow.
Yes, man. I had to sit out that whole year.
How did he come in and tell you, you know, that
I guess they saying I cheated.
High? Oh, wow.
I mean,
but aren't you in a classroom full of other people with
right.
a teacher or educator?
It was tough, man. I went through a lot in high school, you know.
Yeah.
And I got into some things in high school too, you know, which translated to them probably maybe believing that I wasn't doing the right things.
Right.
Which is, you know, if you're not doing some right things offside the field, you know, people paint pictures of you.
Right.
And I allowed that to happen. And that's how I ended up being a Prop 48, man.
Yeah. I was a Prop 48 too. A lot of people don't know that, but yeah. But, you know, and I'll tell that story because of the ACT. I eventually, my scores accumulated to pass the ACT test. And then I ultimately, my first year, I was at LSU in 92, but my first playing year was 1993.
Ooh,
so a lot of people, a lot of people don't know that. So,
but you're a genius, man.
Hey, you know, hey, listen here. I tell my 10-year-old son Griffin right now, you know, he's in school and you know, I'm getting my degree from LSU right now. So I'm in school. So we sit and we do our homework together.
Right.
And Griffin's always asking me, he's like, well, Dad, let me take a look at your grades now. I said, well, my grades now don't look like what my grades were in high school, coming out. I was C's, D's, and, I barely passed. Right. But that was just part of the process. So, yeah.
Exactly. Part of the process, man.
I'm much in tune now to my homework and getting it done.
Most definitely.
Yeah, man. So your recruiting is happening. At the time, we had 5 visits that we can take. And I think now they still have 5 visits. But I know the recruiting process is different. Mm-hmm. Did you take your 5 visits?
I didn't take all 5 of them.
How many did you take?
I took 3.
Took 3 visits. Where'd you go?
I went to Illinois, University of Illinois, which Lou Tepper was the head coach. Mm-hmm. And Simeon Rice and Kevin Hardy was up there at the time. It was a phenomenal time, but just too cold.
Too cold.
Ooh, it was cold, man. I was like, no, sir.
These down south boys don't like the cold. My first was to Michigan.
Ooh.
I stepped off the plane in December, and I was like, this is not where I'm coming.
No way.
No
way. I went to Baylor, which was, I liked Baylor a lot. And the thing about those 2 schools were they both had turf. I didn't like it. And that was one of my things going on recruiting trips, to see the fields. Because I was down home on, I love grass, I always played on grass. And anytime I played on turf, I got hurt.
Right. When
I was in high school, and we played Natchez. Natchez used to play in Northwestern Stadium.
That's right.
And we played up there against them, and I ran a sweep to the right, and when I got tackled, my leg slid on the turf, and I left a whole skid mark on there. Took off my whole
everything.
Everything. I got a little iron mark on my leg right now to this day. I go back on the film and see it. I can see the whole skid mark, right? Man. So that point, I must say that I was kind of intimidated of it. I was. It was kind of a mental block for me. And after I had did that, I started wearing them little pads over my shins. And so when I went on my recruiting trips, that was a deciding factor.
Right.
And that was one of the factors I didn't end up going to Illinois because it was lovely up there. The program was good. When I went to Baylor, the program was good. They laid it out for me, had academics laid out. Everything was with my dad, went with me. It was phenomenal. But then I went to LSU last. Yeah. And when I went to LSU, that was it, baby.
That was it.
I had a lot of guys that I played high school with. One of your homeboys, Brandon Winey, Washington Marion. We all went on the recruiting trip together. It was like, oh, man, it was like the biggest recruiting trip LSU had in a while. I don't know how many of it was, but I know that recruiting trip, probably 10 or more guys committed, came to agree with.
And Jared Donato was the head coach at the time, right?
Jared Donato.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a big thing, man. I didn't even take no more visits after LSU.
Yeah.
A lot of people inside of my family, a lot of people really didn't even know I was going to LSU. They kept telling me, "Oh, you should go out of state." Man, I didn't want to go out of state. Man, I'm homegrown.
Right.
I pretty much grew up in Louisiana. I traveled as a younger age, but I came in the 5th grade.
Right.
Just from there. So LSU was my team, man. When I went there, man, it was over with.
It was lovely.
It was lovely, man.
And you even
home.
Yeah, and you even made the decision to come to LSU with arguably your arch rival running back, now one of best friends who was already at LSU, and Kevin Falk.
Yes, sir.
And you still made the decision to come to LSU because LSU was lovely. I don't know who your host was. Maybe it was Kevin. Maybe you guys went out together, but.
Man, who was my host?
Yeah, well, it don't matter because I think I remember who my host was, but anyway, man, yeah. So you come in even with knowing Kevin Falk was here, and you gave yourself an opportunity to play at LSU behind Kevin Falk. Tell me that decision and how it came to be.
Okay, I knew Kevin already. From high school. Kevin was ridiculous in high school.
Right.
And we met at a track meet. And, we talked, we became all right at that time. And I was already looking at this guy like, man, in high school, this guy, man, I was looking up to him in high school because he was a year ahead of me.
Right.
And, I was like, man, this dude is really good, man. And he run track really well. And I was doing the same thing pretty much, playing football, powerlifting, running track. And when he went to LSU, I was like, okay. I'm like, man, shoot, we can play together. I can see this working. I know it take teamwork. I know that's how my daddy bred me, man. This is a team game.
That's right.
And that was the big factor of me going. I'm like, man, if we can both of us go there and they have both of us back there,
right.
Oh man, and I can learn from this guy because I know his IQ was very high.
Right.
And that was one of my deciding factors, man. And when I did it, everybody was like, oh, why you going to LSU? They have All-American. Kevin Falk is a freshman All-American. I'm like, man, what are y'all talking about?
Right.
I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about playing with this guy and getting better and us doing great things together.
And that the people who were the naysayers said, why are you going there? Are probably people who never played the game.
Never played
and don't really understand the true fraternity teamwork that it is on the football field or in the locker room.
That's right. That's right.
So you get to LSU, right? And Kevin obviously is starting.
Yes.
And Kevin gets hurt.
Ooh.
And
man.
Now it's time for Cecil to step in and show his talent.
Yes, sir.
At LSU. Take us through the moment when Kevin went down. I don't know if it was the second or third quarter Kevin went down, but he went down, and then you got the opportunity to step in.
Ooh.
So tell me about that moment when Kevin went down and you get ready to get into the game.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, I didn't even know I was gonna go in. You know, I thought they was gonna play Rondell.
Right.
I thought Rock was finna go into the game, but I had a phenomenal spring. I had great practices all the way up to this time, and when they called me Cecil, I was like, whoa! I thought they was finna call Rondell.
Right.
And they called me, man. I was ready though, man.
Yeah.
I was so excited.
Oh, bro, you coming off Mr. Football, dog.
I was
you about
excited,
ready to play
man.
right now, dog.
I already had to wait a whole year.
That's right.
My games was practice.
Right.
And I did them practices like it was games, man.
Yeah.
I went hard every practice like it was a game.
That's right.
And it prepared me for that moment against Mississippi State, man.
Man, and I remember you going in and playing, and you know I was already in the league at that time, and
right.
I heard that name, you know, Cecil getting in, and the way you played the game and how you dominated the game while you were here, man, and then things happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
You play your time at LSU, things
right.
happen, you move on to McNeese.
Yeah.
The transition from LSU to McNeese. What was that transition like for you?
Night and day.
Night and day.
And you know what? That transition at the time, because at that time, man, I had a lot of trouble going on in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, a lot of people didn't know the things that I was battling. And that transition from LSU to McNeese was pretty bad for me, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was bad for me because at the time, my mental state was not great. Mm-hmm. I was coming off an injury, coming off a case, getting in trouble, mm-hmm. and all that was still in the bundle when I went to McNeese.
Right.
So when I went there, McNeese welcomed me in. It was lovely. It was wonderful
right.
on the campus and going there. When I came in, science, welcome to Diesel, all this. It was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
It was humbling, and to an extent, it kind of blew my head up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I took advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I went over there out of shape, hanging out, you know.
I know what that's about.
Oh man, and in Lake Charles, you know, Lake Charles right down the road from Leesville.
That's right.
And it was close to home, and that was one of the reasons why I had chose McNeese. I was looking at Grambling and McNeese at the time, mm-hmm. and Grambling was just so far away from home.
Right.
And I had my daughter at the time, so I stayed close to home. Mm-hmm. I went over there. I think Coach Keeser was a head coach at the time. He was a phenomenal guy. Yeah. Phenomenal guy,
yes,
man. He was a really, really nice guy. And I think I just took advantage of the situation, man. Didn't work out like I was supposed to, wasn't in shape. And when I went in, I felt like I was looking horrible out there. Mm-hmm. And in the first game we played, I can't remember who we played against in the first game, but when I seen the film of it, I was like, man, I look like a fat boy out here. I could just see me out of shape in the way I was running, and I was like, these guys looking at me like, who's this guy?
Right.
This guy was Mr. Football at LSU. Now he come here, he don't look the same, and that's how I felt. Oh, you know,
bro. When I tell you, being out of shape and overweight, I did that my second year in the National Football League.
Ooh.
So like after the first year, that first off season, my playing weight was 190.
Okay.
Right. That first off season, I partied. We went out to the clubs. We were having a great time at parties. We eat at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning on the way home from the club, And bruh, I went from 190 to 214.
Woo.
And I went to camp at 214 as a 190 guy, as a 428 guy.
Jeez.
And bro, when I tell you, it took me all the training camp and then 3 games in to get in my weight back and get into decent shape. So I know what that's all about.
Right. That's exactly what happened to me. And that's why I didn't think I had a great success over there.
Right.
You know, personally, I just didn't, and I didn't feel. And then I had my leg too. I forgot about that. I had broke my leg, so I was coming off the injury at the same time.
Yeah.
So I had gained like 20 pounds.
Ooh,
my
man.
playing weight was like 210.
Right.
You know, I was like maybe I was like 220, 225. But it was bulky. I could see it all in my hips and everything.
Right.
And I was out of shape so bad.
Oh man, I know all about it, man. So you play your little time at McNeese, and you had to transition at some point to go to the National Football League.
Right.
'Cause that's the ultimate goal for all of
sir.
us, right? So things happen at McNeese, you transition out, and you get drafted.
Get drafted.
Send us through that time of being drafted. You know, you round, you pick, and to your team. I know it, but I'm gonna let you tell.
Yeah. Now, see, that draft process was something else, man, because after I left McNeese, I got into my situation in McNeese. When I got kicked off the team, I was like, man, look here. I don't have nothing else, man. I need to go. I'm going to the league.
Right.
I got an agent. I ended up getting Jimmy Sexton, and I signed my paper to say I'm entering the NFL draft.
Right.
I immediately moved from Leesville. I was staying in Leesville. I moved from there and moved to Dallas and started training in Dallas, getting ready for the combine. Went to combine, trained real well for the combine. Went to the combine, had a great showing. You know, met with all the teams. It was phenomenal. And then I got to thinking, I was like, man, I only played like 6 or 7 games of college football. Like, am I really gonna get drafted?
Right.
Right. So that being said, that was a mindset of like, okay, I got to go in here and work hard. I don't have much film.
Right.
You know, the little film that I had was phenomenal, and I knew that. Thanks to my agent too, Jimmy Sexton, which helped me out a lot. That these interviews, when I go into see these teams, is very important. Right. You know, and I went there and did very well. You know, and I ended up getting drafted the 5th round, 134th pick to the Miami Dolphins. It was like phenomenal. And you know, I went with Jimmy Johnson, and I love Jimmy Johnson.
Right.
I loved him when he was at Miami, at the Hurricanes.
Right.
Not at Dallas too much, you know, but I grew up an Oilers fan originally, so. But the Hurricane, when he was at the Hurricanes, I loved him, man.
Yeah.
And I was looking forward to the opportunity of being coached by him. Right. Which was phenomenal, man. He was a phenomenal guy, man. He gave me that opportunity, you know. Yeah. And I was sitting around in Memphis, my draft, I ain't gonna say draft party, but I had my family there, you know, sitting in his office waiting on the draft. I'm just looking on the board. Now I look and see now, you know, how they have top picks, the best talent left in the draft. I'm sitting there all day. Right. Like, come back tomorrow. Like, man, am I going to get drafted or what? I get the phone call. I think the Dolphins traded. I think they traded with Green Bay. I'm not positive, but I think they did. They traded up. And Jimmy Sexton was like, Jimmy Johnson on the phone. I was kind of nervous.
Talk to old Jimmy.
I talked to old Jimmy. Say, man, you ready to be a Dolphin? Am I? Yeah. We finna take you with the next pick. And I seen the pick on the TV with the 134th pick. The Miami Dolphins select Cecil Collins out of McNeese State. And at the time, I was like, oh, man, why they couldn't say LSU? I want to go with LSU. Because I love LSU so much. But I went to McNeese. That was my last school. So that was the school I went to the draft in. Right. And, man, it was, from there, man, it was a whirlwind then.
So take us, I don't want to move too fast from that spot because I want to take you, ask you about that feeling, having your name called, even though it was the next day, right? Having your name called and knowing that you're going to go play for the Miami Dolphins. Take us through those feelings after that phone call or that hang up with Jimmy Johnson.
A lot of emotions, man. I cried, you know. My mother was there. A couple of my cousins was there. My sister was there. My cousin, God bless him, man. My cousin George, he passed away in a motorcycle accident, and he was there, man. It was a phenomenal feeling and it was a blessing for all the hard work that I had did and all the trials I had been through. and God still blessed me to get drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I see a lot of this more now, you know. Back then, I didn't see it as much, but the feeling I still know from back then of getting drafted, man, it was like, okay, this is what I've been trying to do all my life. This was my goal, to get to the NFL. This is what I want to do, to make generational money, take care of my family. When I have kids, leave this for my kids.
Right.
And that was my goal.
That was the goal.
And I had the opportunity to do it.
Yeah. So you get to Miami, go to training camp.
Oh man.
How many years did you play in Miami?
Just 1 year.
1 year.
Not even the full season.
Right.
That's the thing. When I got drafted in Miami, another one of our LSU compadres, Kenny Mixon, was there. He had got drafted by the Dolphins the year before.
That's right.
So I had somebody there, you know, to pretty much get me comfortable living around the area, which was good, and kind of showed me how to be a professional.
Right.
Which I didn't end up making it in there too long, but the example that he showed me was good, and the guys on the team, man, it was phenomenal,
Yeah.
man. I met a lot of great guys on that team, man.
Yeah.
Dan Marino was phenomenal with me, man. He was a nice guy, man. He really was. And John Avery, which was there at the time, oh man, he was something else, man. He was a really good guy.
Yeah.
Taught me a lot. Bernie Parmalee, phenomenal guy.
Yeah.
Didn't hold nothing back. Taught me everything. Showed me pass coverage. You know, because sometimes, you know, you get in situations with these guys and you come in as a rookie. In my mindset, I'm thinking too, some of these guys might not want to show you nothing.
Right.
Because everybody out here trying to eat. You know, everybody's fighting for a spot on the 53-man roster.
It's a business.
It's a business, man.
Yeah.
You
it's
know?
a business.
And that was one of the big things that I enjoyed being in Miami, that these guys, this running back crew and the defensive line, I really got pretty close to Tim Bowens.
Right.
You know, because of Kenny Mixon, he was around these guys too, the Tim Bowens, the Jason Tans, the Zach Thomas, you know, the Sam Madisons, and Pat Surtains, you know.
Pat Surtain.
You know, these guys, you know, and that was a good camaraderie. That was a blessing for me, these guys, of taking me in and not like, man, that rookie, you're a rook, do it on your own.
Right.
And, you know, that showed me a lot.
Yeah,
you know?
and that goes to show you a lot of football teams that bring in rookies, and, you know, a lot of the teammates are those guys, right?
Right.
I can't think of one guy in my 13-year career that I had a disagreement with or I didn't like. I love all of my teammates, and still to this day we stay in contact. So I definitely get that. Transitioning from Miami, and normally I wouldn't say this, but because I know where you are now, Cecil.
Yes, sir.
I know where you are now, that someone needs to hear this. They need to know that short little period of time in your life, that transition after Miami. Take us through that transition after Miami and the time that you spent, the 10 years that you spent incarcerated. I don't need to know 10 years, but
13 and a half.
13 and a half, sorry. 13 and a half incarcerated.
Yes.
To where you are now. Take me through that transition, brother.
You,
so because someone need to hear it.
Yes,
and
sir.
I normally wouldn't do this, but your story, for me personally, if no one ever gets anything from this, just know that Eddie Kennison get it.
Yes, sir.
And I love you for it, and I love where you are to this point in your life. And somebody out there, I know they need to hear it. So transition from Miami into your time incarcerated.
Those 13 and a half years, man, were the best years of my life that I needed. Those 13 and a half years got me to the point I am now, man. It was a struggle. It was a struggle, losing everything. And it all happened in one day. You know, I caught my case when I was in Miami. I went to the county jail. I stayed in there for 15 months. When I got found guilty, I went to prison, found guilty, went to prison all in the same day. Normal, the process is, you know, you get found guilty, you go through a sentencing phase, you might sit in the county for a couple of months, and then you go to prison. But I went all in the same day. Police escorted to South Florida, went all in the same day. So it was like a boom, you know. It was a shock, and it was very hard. It was very hard, stressful. I was stressed out, bald spot in the middle of my head, and that time was rough, man. But I'm gonna tell you what, though.
Yeah.
It was one thing that was constant. my Lord and Savior.
Yeah, man.
You hear me? Hey,
Yeah.
man, when that man helped me, man. Even just being in prison of the things that I had to go through dealing in prison. I was in Florida. I didn't know nobody. I didn't have no family in Florida. Absolutely none. And I was in prison by myself over there, you know, until I met my beautiful wife. But I didn't have nobody in there, man. So it was tough going into there, into the system of, I'm a Miami Dolphin player. You know, you have a lot of, they're huge on Dolphins over there. So you had a lot of guys that was real respectful, you know, and I didn't have no problems. But then, you know, you had the naysayers.
Right.
So, you know, I had to deal with that all 13 and a half years. But I had so many situations in there where, man, God just maneuvered me around everywhere, man.
Yeah, man.
He shook me from this place where something happened, a riot. I didn't get into the riot and get stabbed and get killed.
Right.
Guys getting killed around the corner for me. I didn't end up getting in none of that. You know, I got in all types of trouble while I was there my first 7 years. Don't get it wrong.
Right.
Because I was going in the first 7 years was the roughest patch for me because I was trying to find myself and trying to adapt to this at the same time.
Right.
And the one constant thing was him always pulling me. And I met a guy, man, it was my bunkmate, Irvin, man. And this man gave me so much knowledge. And I started opening up that Bible with him, man, and just reading and reading. And see, I was raised as a Baptist, you know. So I had the roots, you know, but I kind of put the roots behind me, you know, going through my process of school and college, NFL.
A lot of us have and did.
You know,
I promise.
Little do I know, he just hold me like this the whole time.
Yeah,
He hold me like this the whole time. So, man, when I started reading, man, I just started seeing things, you know. I started seeing things, and then boom, something happened. My cousin died. And when my cousin died, no, actually, my grandmother passed. My grandmother passed, and then my cousin passed a month later. He got killed in a motorcycle accident. And that was my calling right there. That was the calling that Christ said, man, look, you need to come on over and start playing. Right. Man, I went to my room. I put my towel up, opened my Bible. I'm reading constantly. I'm reading. I'm getting a relationship. I'm reading. I'm knowing him. I'm learning. I'm knowing him. People walking by my door, man, it's doing, but man, I ain't what y'all talking about playing poker. I ain't studying that right now. Right. I'm getting this. I'm finding my identity with Christ. And man, I got that identity with him, man, and we became friends. Yeah. And then I had an incident and I almost died in prison. And while I was going through that incident, they told me that I was gonna die. And they told my wife that it was like a 4% chance that I wasn't gonna live. They told her to prepare for me to die. Now just imagine my wife going through this. She come to see me in prison for 12 and a half years. I had her. She coming every weekend, and now they call and tell her your husband he might not make it. He about to die in prison. She was just, man, but she fought so hard for me. Yeah, man. She fought so hard for me. And when I was in that hospital, the Lord told me, man, I was about to give up, man. I was dying, bro. I had lost like 50 pounds. I was laying in that hospital bed, chained to the bed. And I literally said, man, I can't take it no more. Right. I'm about to give up, man. I'm just going to lay there. If I die, I die, you know. But a big, man, the hand big as this world came on top of me, man. And I felt his presence on my body. He say, son, how you going to give up? I never gave up on you. How you going to give up on me? You giving up is giving up on me. Right. I've been carrying you this whole time. Who you think been here? And man, from that day, man, our relationship was just, yeah. And I see it. And I knew that was my father then. Wow. You know, and from that day, man, it's just been a process every single day, man. Yeah. Every single day it's been a process. Not knowing, you know, man, you know, I still make mistakes. Right. You know? Sure. We all do. We all, you know, exactly. Right. But I know who my father is, and I know who guided me, and I know where I'm going, man, and I know where he want me to go at, man. Yeah. And there's nothing that's gonna stop that. Right. And bro,
My next question, I don't even need to ask it, but I will.
Mm-hmm.
Your why. And I'm going to assume you say your wife, and I met your wife.
Yes, sir.
Very, very lovely lady.
Oh, man.
And I met CJ.
Oh, man.
Y'all son.
Ah,
Tell me your why, brother.
my wife. Man, that woman.
Mm.
Listen, man. I met my wife in the county jail. While I was at the bottom. While I was down and out in the county jail. She not even really into football. Didn't know who I was or nothing.
Takes a special woman.
Oh my gosh, man. And the situation is so odd and so great at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I met her through her cousin. She came with her cousin for visitation, and her cousin was visiting somebody, and he pulled me out and said, come sit with her, because she was there with her. And man, we started talking from there, and we just became friends.
Yeah.
We became friends. I used to call her, and we talked and become friends. We just were talking. I was like, man, shoot.
Did you used to have to call collect?
I used to have to call collect call from an inmate at the Broward County Jail. Like, and them calls was expensive.
Yeah, they
And
expensive.
she was accepting this, man, and didn't even know me yet, just from meeting me behind the glass.
Yeah.
But her eyes, man, and I seen in her eyes, man, and her mother, Gerald, and her mother's phenomenal.
Wow.
And the way she was raised, man, I didn't know at the time, you know. And her to come into my life, man, and be there for me, she told me. I met my wife. Matter of fact, February 10th is our anniversary. We'll be together for 23 years.
Wow.
23 years.
Well, happy early anniversary.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. She told me, man, she said, no matter what happens to you, I met her like a month before my sentencing. She said, no matter what happened, I'm going to be there for you. I'm like, man, what? Man.
Right.
I got uncles that been to prison throughout all their life, you know. So I know about the prison system. I know my uncles was in and out. I went to see my uncles while I was in prison, so I had the familiarity with it,
Right.
you know. And I was like, man, okay, girl, whatever. You ain't finna stay and do this time with me.
Takes a special woman,
It
man.
does, man.
Takes a
And
special woman. Tell me about CJ.
CJ is, man, God sent CJ to me, man. For him to put CJ in my hands just humbled me. Because, bro, I had visions of having my son while I was in prison. I have two oldest daughters. Zakia and Zakayla, 27 and 24. And I wasn't there for them. Physically wise, they were out there this whole time, you know. I was in prison the whole time. I seen them. They came to visit. They came to visit, you know, built that relationship like that, but I wasn't out there being the father figure role that I need to be to them. And at the time, I couldn't be that father anyway, because mentally I wasn't in the mindset to be able to do that.
Right.
But when I got out, within a year, I got out, I think July 13th of 2013. So I've been out over 10 years, man. Thank you, Lord.
Wow. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah, man. And I had a vision, man. I had a vision of me, my wife, and a child. And I just knew I was going to have a son. He told me he was going to give me a son. He told me, man. And I got out. Everybody was always saying, oh, I can't wait till y'all have a baby. It's going to be so pretty, girl, or handsome lady. Can't wait till I have a baby. And we're like, man, okay. I can't have it now. I'm in prison. So when I got out, within a year, she got pregnant. And when she had CJ, man, it was just, man, it melted my heart, changed my life, man. It really changed my life. And to the aspect of this too, man, that I had Christ in my life and that he was the head of my life. And he was the example set for me now that I can raise my child, man. And for me to be able to have him and have the mental capacity to be able to raise a child under God's law and show him the right way, man, I'd have been through all type of obstacles, and you know, and I can give him everything before he sees it. And that's what I do, man.
And I tell you what, and I know that that's the truth because
Shoot.
I've seen you with your wife and with your son.
Oh, man.
And what you just spoke, I know that to be the absolute truth. I've seen you at church. I've seen you on campus with your wife and with CJ. And I tell you what, brother, if I didn't know you, then I would say that man of God is a phenomenal father.
Thank you, brother.
And a phenomenal husband.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Just because of what I've seen.
Right.
The great thing about your story and me is that I get to sit back and I know what the past is.
Right.
And I envision what your future is. And I see it and I hear it every time I talk to you. Brother, when I ran into you on game day,
Yes, sir.
I think we were playing, I forget who we were playing. I don't remember. But I remember seeing you and I was walking through the PMAC.
Mm-hmm.
You had walked into the L Club and you were standing there waiting. And man, when I saw you, it was just like two magnets meeting.
For real,
bro.
man.
Man, we
For
hugged.
real,
and-
man.
and
it was phenomenal.
It was phenomenal.
And I'm
I
gonna
will
tell you-
never forget that.
I'm gonna tell. I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm gonna tell you something right before what happened. Right before that, because I was with my wife, CJ, Coach Smith, and his daughter Mandy. So we were walking through, tailgate. She had a friend there, so we met with them, and then I had one of my high school friends, which is her cousin. They had a tailgate party,
Right.
and they was like, "Man, y'all come over here and come hang out with us." And I'm like, "Man, I need to get over here to the PMAC." So it's like, "No, we could just stop for a few minutes." And Coach Smith was like, "Look, man, you trying to get over here? Don't worry about them. They gonna be there. Let's go this way."
That's right.
And that little moment right there of me not going over there to meet them, that's how I ended up meeting you at the time, how we came in like
Wow.
that. Because if I'd have went over there, we would have never bumped into each other.
That's crazy,
That's
man.
just divine appointment, man.
That's divine appointment.
That's what it is,
and
man.
from that point, so everyone understand, because you were living in Houston and now you're back in Baton Rouge.
Yes, sir.
When we hugged each other
Oh,
and
man.
you came to our tailgate and you met a few people in our tailgate, and at that time we had begun to talk about you moving back to Baton Rouge
Right.
because you fit, you belong, you and your family belong in this community. And I'm not sure what Houston was offering you, but I knew in my spirit that Baton Rouge, LSU, Eddie Kennison, and everybody that loves LSU in this community would accept and help Cecil Collins
Yes.
and his family grow and be great in this community. We love you here, brother.
Man, thank
We love you here. And I know this community love you here. And hopefully you've felt that. You
Oh,
and your
man.
family have felt that.
We have.
And within a 2.5 month span from
Right.
that day, you were moving from Houston to Baton Rouge.
From Houston to Baton Rouge. And
You
that's
moved to Baton Rouge, and now you're working in this community
working
and
this-
growing and raising your family.
raising my family, man.
Bruh.
So phenomenal, man. God is phenomenal, man. And you know what? He ordered my steps, man.
Yeah.
I follow his lead. That's just what it is, man.
Yeah.
And jumping from there, I had moved from Florida. I moved from Florida. God bless my mother-in-law when she passed. I moved to Florida, from Florida to Houston, be closer to my family. It worked out pretty good down there. It actually worked out perfect because of the situation of how I became here. And I went to Belford Church of Christ, which was so phenomenal, man.
Right.
So phenomenal. I got so close to Christ. So many great brothers there. Great pastor, James Glenn was phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
Involvement to the brotherhood, man. It took me to a whole nother level, man, with Christ. Being around these brothers who've been in Christ for 30, 40 years, man.
Right.
And that was, I see the picture that he showed me.
Right.
And now I look back at that vision I had.
Mm-hmm.
Me, my wife, my son. God is up there. And I looked back at that vision, I'm like, man, he really doing it like this?
Oh, he gonna do it.
Man, he from Florida to Houston for 4.5 years
Mm-hmm.
to, okay, now we need to go somewhere else,
Yeah.
to Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
Back to the roots,
Wow.
back to the stomping grounds of where I was bred and raised at, and love, man. And me coming here, man, it's been such uplifting to our spirits, man. My wife loves it here.
Yeah.
CJ loves it here, man. The love is just overpowering.
Yeah.
Not saying that I didn't get love in Houston, but it was not the same.
Right.
The spirit wasn't the same.
Mm-hmm.
The spirit wasn't there.
Yeah, man.
You know, and when the spirit's not there, I'm moving around, bro.
Yeah. You have to.
I'm moving around.
Yeah.
I'm not accepting no negativity coming in. You know, you shoot positive out there, negative not coming back, positive coming back. You shoot that negative out there, positive not coming back.
That's right.
You know, so any negative, I deal with it and move on.
Yeah.
And I'm following the steps, man. And that's what it is, man. And that's where I am right now,
Wow.
man.
And that's so phenomenal, man.
Oh,
And
man.
brother, I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story with us. And that's my computer. I should have put that thing on silent. But I can't thank you enough, man, for coming on Go To Legends, sharing your story, man. Like I said, we love you. And there's nothing but greater things coming for you in the future.
Yes, sir.
One, because you are God's child.
Yes.
Your wife is God's child.
Yes.
CJ is God's child.
Man, easy. That kid there.
So for all of our listeners, do you have any social media platforms, like all of our viewers and listeners, if they wanted to follow you on social media? You have social media?
Oh yeah, I'm on all of them. I don't really. I Facebook. What is it now? Twitter. I don't know what it's called now.
Yeah, it's called X. Yeah.
X. Instagram.
Yeah. So just Cecil Collins?
I am who I am.
Yeah, he is who he is.
There's no hashtag blase. No, I'm Cecil Collins. I mean,
So this is all new and everything. So for all of our viewers and listeners, go out and follow Cecil Collins. You can see him. You can see what he's doing. You can follow his journey.
yes, sir.
You can hear his journey, because when I tell you, when you sit in his presence and you understand who he is as a man, I promise you will be better because of it.
Yes, sir.
And for all of our viewers and listeners, go and tell everyone about Go To Legends. Go follow our page. We're on all social media at Go To Legends. And if no one has told you today, let me be the first to tell you, I love you with the love of Christ. There's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. And my friend Cecil Collins and everyone out there, be a light that shines so bright today that it has the impact to save someone's life.
Yes, sir.
Until next time, peace and love. Go To Legends fans, we ask that you subscribe, like, share, tell everybody who's an LSU fan, your uncle, your mom, your dad, your cousin, sister, everybody. Share this with them, have them do the same, and I promise you, y'all won't regret being a part of the Go To Legends podcast.
The struggle, the hustle, the blood, the sweat, the tears from the L's you took, don't forget. Survival of the fittest, the cheers, the rings and bucks, now legendary status, that's what's up. The struggle, the hustle, the blood, the sweat, the tears from the L's you took, don't forget. Survival of the fittest, the cheers, the rings and bucks, now legendary status, that's what's up.